You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
What's up, mateys? Welcome to the Mark Lesko Podcast. I'm your host, J. Rod, and this is Pirate Central. Hey, who'd have thought they showed up against the Dodgers, and I guess the Dodgers didn't take us seriously. I mean, yeah, we had to take on who did we pitch in the first game? I think it was a well-known pitcher, too. I know we faced Snell in the last game, and I know we faced not a well-known pitcher in the first, but the name was pretty decent on the first one. I know we ended up winning 9-7 in that first game, and then I believe we shut them out in the next game, and then how did that game go? Oh, I know I have the stats up. I know we won 9-7 in that first game, and then the second game, we shut them out 3-0, and then we beat them 5-3. Who was the pitcher in that first game? I want to make sure I get that one right. Kershaw, yeah. Well-known pitcher. Can't remember Clayton Kershaw, dear Lordy. Yeah, but yeah, we took on Clayton Kershaw, and that was a believable bullpen game for us with Brewers, and I know Chandler pitched in that game. Yep, Majinski and Chandler, Matson. Yep, that was a good bullpen game, and yeah, we came alive. We absolutely destroyed them. Yeah, it was a well fought game, like real back and forth, and yeah, we actually showed up. It was really refreshing to see them actually do something of that nature. And then in the second game, yeah, shutting out a team like that, regardless of what time of the year it is or, who they have facing. I mean, we had Mike Burrows take the win, and then we had Dennis Santana for his 13th save of the season. And then again, in the final game, we went up 5-3. And yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. I know we were shutting them out, and then of course, they had no other choice but to use, I want to say Merida, and then they had to pull him, and they brought in Holderman, and it's like, oh God, hold your breath. But they did not let it happen. They didn't completely falter, and they ended up sweeping. So yeah, they know how to do something whenever they feel like it. And then we know what happened in this last series. They just completely disappeared. And it had to be against a team like the Brewers. Milwaukee. The House of Horrors. That team, it doesn't matter if it's there or if it's at PNC. They own us. And it sucks to admit that. They just refuse to try to uplift any curse that whatever's on them, like with the Brewers. They just refuse to uplift, get rid of this curse. Like, I just don't understand why they cannot do that. But that's just how things always go down. What was that final? It was we had a close one, and then it got away from them. Yeah, it was 5-2. I know we were up 2-1 at one point, and then of course they had to bring in, I think it was who was the pitcher that was responsible? I know it's something I did not care for. Oviedo, I know he had 3 walks. I know he was up to, how many pitches did he have? He was only at 78 pitches. I mean, that's not too high for them to yank him after the 5th inning. Majinski just got rocked, and then after that they brought in Nicholas, and Nicholas, for some bizarre reason, wasn't the one who gave up anything after that. And then Johan Ramirez, we saw what he does. And then Holderman, yeah, his ERA is at 7.3 this season. And of course, the game yesterday, 4-1, and then 10-2. Yeah, it's just another 3 steps forward, 3 steps back. Just go right back to what you had before. Again, what more can you really say about it? It's just the consistent issue and the consistent way they carry themselves. I mean, listen, you try your darndest as a Pirate fan not to let it get you down because, again, there's just no point in getting frustrated over an organization that just enjoys not being competitive. I would love nothing more than for this team to be competitive. And when I watched them take a 3-game series over the Dodgers, again, it's almost like it didn't even happen. Because, again, you take on a team like your division, and you just know that you can't do anything against them, and you prove that. Nothing shows up afterwards. I mean, that game yesterday, 4-1, and today, 10-2, letting them outscore you 14-3 in 2 games, you completely give up. And, again, I did not actually watch today's game, but I did see on my phone, that – who was it? Javier Peguero was one of the people that got some hit. And I think, was it Cam Devaney who singled and he brought in G1 Bay, and I saw G1 Bay was up over Billy Cook. And it's just okay, why not Billy Cook? Why? Again, it's these moves that they do. It's just, they're not out there to be competitive. And, they're not trying to establish anything for the future. I mean, these last couple of games are kind of yeah, you didn't win the first game, but it's you just completely didn't show up for the whole weekend. It's very troublesome. As a fan base, you just want something good. And you saw it, and then you just took it away. I don't know. I just know that there was some electricity in one series and nothing in another. Again, it's just right there in the middle. Just nothing too spectacular. And yeah, it's unfortunate that the rest of the season has to be this kind of reminder that they're not, getting somewhere. And when is that coming? I would like to know that myself. I just don't know. It's they have had this GM now for 5-6 years. They've had this owner now for 17, and it just keeps churning out the results of, yeah, they can win, but they just don't show up when it's well, you could be doing something to make it look like you're trying to build for something in the future, but that doesn't show that. And again, when you start putting in guys like Javier Peguero and G1 Bay, it's what are you trying to do here? I mean, can we not see guys that may actually make this team better? I don't know. I feel so bad for guys like Kutch. I feel so bad for guys like Tommy Pham. Because, again, these guys are part of a generation that actually was just after the steroid era. I mean, these guys debuted in the late 2000s, and that's when, the MLB and everything was getting wiped out with players of that nature. They were all going away. They were retiring. That was the end of that era. And it felt yeah, baseball can be wonderful again because, these guys aren't going to be cheating in that regard. And now they're on the verge of retirement. And yeah, and I know that baseball itself has a hard time finding the talent that you really would like to see again. I mean, I think pitching-wise, I think we're in a very unique era where I see a lot of names where it's, yeah, these guys are all Cy Young winners. They're future Hall of Famers. And yeah, I know some of the bats. I do. I mean, if you look at my generation in particular, the ones that are kind of on the ends of retiring, I mean, I know Mookie Betts is in his 30s. I know Freddie Freeman's in his 30s. I know Jose Altuve is in his 30s. I mean, I do know, and I know Mike Trout just turned 33. I know he hasn't been the face of baseball for quite some time, but Bryce Harper himself, you know, he's in his 30s. Kyle Schwarber's in his mid-30s. Like, there are names that, yeah, these guys have been around since the early 2010s and before, and now they're kind of on the way out. And, I mean, you're looking at, I mean, listen, we're talking about Connor Griffin coming up soon. That dude, I really do hope that this is like the next Kutch, the next like big player for the offense, for them to like start to build. But again, it's just when you look at the future and you see what is acquired or what goes away, it never amounts to anything here. It always amounts to something somewhere else. I just don't understand how an organization is allowed to basically be like, I guess, a glorified gas station for the other like other teams. Like, that's pretty much what it is. They're just here to fill up their gas and move on to the next like location. And it's unfortunate. You just try your darndest as a fan to like wait for the picks to finally do something, but then the organization just hauls off and gets rid of them. That whole Bailey Falter thing, and I don't really care if the dude is having like issues with injuries or whatever right now. They never had to do what they did. They did not have to move a guy like that. He had 3 years more of control, and that's the thing. Like, it just seems like the guys they got rid of, like, they could have stayed around. They could have done something for next year. They could have contributed in some way. But again, that's just not what this organization does. I want to love this team. I want them to do something spectacular. And they did do something at one point, but it wasn't consistent. I mean, just winning one game of the Brewers series would have said, hey, you had a winning record through this game. That would have been spectacular for you to really put on a show against these types of teams. But you decided to completely fall apart and not show up for the next series. You swept one, and then you got swept. It's kind of the same thing that we had to go through. What was it? About a month ago, we had a similar situation where we got swept and then got swept in the very next series. And where we shut out the Cardinals, and then we got shut out by, who did we get shut out by? Oh, again, that was like a month or so ago. Seattle. Yeah, we swept the Cardinals. Yeah, that was way back in July, so 2 months ago. Yeah, we got swept. We swept the St. Louis Cardinals, then we got swept by the Mariners. I mean, it just never ceases to amaze me how this organization just continues to just find ways to do whatever they want and not really care about keeping a fan base or trying to stay competitive. I mean, again, I keep bringing up the fact that they could very well sell this team out of Pittsburgh, and I don't want that to be true, but what other evidence do you have where it's like you just have nothing but continuous years of inconsistency? Like, you can't expect fans to want to enjoy the sport at, in your park and say like, wow, we're just here to be a stepping stone for whoever comes in, or all the better teams. Like, that's just what we are. We're just a glorified stepping stone for everybody else. And whoever is talented will go to those teams so they can come back and rub it in our face. Just like Quinn Priester did. Came into PNC Park and completely just took care of everything. We had a close game against him, and he got his revenge. He was now 12-2 on the season. So that's what we have. You just have all these former players. It just keeps coming in and just becoming the greatest version of themselves. And they like to stick it to us. And believe me, I don't have any ill will to any player that comes back into another team and shows us what he could have been. Because again, the organization does not care. I can only hope and pray that something comes along someday and forces them to care, or just something shows up and it's just a better situation. Until then, this is what I have to deal with. An endless parade of inconsistency. Again, I've seen good things at some point in my life with this team. I did, and it was nice. But that was another bizarre situation where it's like it really wasn't sustainable, but they had a pretty nice run. So you have that at least to look forward, look back on. Anyone who's like, over the age of 25, 24, and it's like, or 20 and up, I guess. But it's like when you were 10 years old the last time the Pirates a decade ago, if you're 20 now, it's like, what do you have to look forward to? Some guys that might come in and get traded because they're too good. That's just really the process, and that is just kind of what has just been the setup that no one will stop. Like, I just cannot believe that the MLB is not allowed just to step in and just take control. I just don't get that. We're a sport. The ownership, like everyone who is like important people, that it's like every team should be treated like you want them to be successful. And it's like, no, you only want the teams that have the good fan bases and bring in money to do something. Well, it's like in baseball, there's like, 6-8 teams tops that do that. So just have the 6 to 8 teams. If that's really what it is, like, why bother have all 30 of these MLB teams if only 6 to 8 of them are always going to repeat in the playoffs? Something needs to be enforced where everyone has a chance to be competitive. That's why a salary cap should come soon. I hope so. But with that said, again, just right there in the middle, 500. I'm sure we're, again, 17 games under 500. What is the current record? Current record is 64-80. Yep, we're 16 games under 500. That's where we've been pretty much since Don Kelly has taken over. He has been 500. And again, you think if they just fired Derek Shelton on the offseason like they should have, and we had the 40-game stretch that we had until they were forced to do what they did and fired him, but yet they kept the GM because, they wanted these guys to be dealt, and they wanted him to do it. So hopefully by the end of the season, the GM is gone, and I just hope that Bob Nutting kind of loses his senses for just the one time when he picks the guy and just picks a good one and then regains senses and doesn't realize that he did something good. Because he won't have that. Just waiting and waiting, folks. I get it. It's basically like, waiting for the stick to move in your yard. It's like, you can stare all you want, but it ain't going to move. That's just what it is, guys. Just waiting for that stick to move. They have to have it set up. I can only hope that the lockout does occur and the MLB is forcing a salary cap and it does go through. If it doesn't, then again, I don't know how long it will take to push it through again, but at some point this has to change and it has to be enforced and it has to be just different. So I'll be back again for the next series, guys. And I do, again, apologize. I really do wish that this stuff would just get better, but this is what they give us. They just continue to just keep it even in that regard. If they're always going to be right there, sitting 10, 15, 20 games below 500 every season. And that's how they prefer it because that doesn't put them in the playoffs. It doesn't make them competitive. So it's a darn shame. And we Pirates fans, all 50 of us, are still waiting. So until then, guys, I hope you have yourselves a good rest of your night. Hey, the Steelers won. If you're a fan of all teams, Pittsburgh, at least someone did something fantastic, So again, I'll be doing those shows too. So at least I'll have a different demeanor then. So until then, guys, hope you have yourselves a good one, and let's go Bucks.